In 1877, this man was worth more than the entire United States Treasury. His family owned mansions that stretched an entire city block, and just 48 years later, one of his direct descendants died completely broke. Not poor. Broke. By the time the family held a reunion in 1973, there was not a single millionaire left among 120 heirs. I'm going to show you exactly how the richest family in American history lost everything. And by the end, you'll understand the one money mistake that quietly destroys almost every fortune, including maybe your own. This is the story of the Vanderbilts. And it starts with a man who couldn't read. Cornelius Vanderbilt was born in 1794 on a small farm. No education, no connections, no inheritance. He borrowed $100 from his mother, bought a single boat, and started ferrying passengers across New York Harbor. That's it. That's how it began. But Cornelius had one thing almost nobody has. He was ruthless about money. When competitors tried to run him out of the shipping business, he didn't fight them. He undercut them. He slashed his prices so low that his rivals begged him to stop, and then he took payments just to go away. He built steamships. Then he saw the future was railroads, sold his ships, and bought the New York Central Line. By the time he died in 1877, Cornelius Vanderbilt was worth over $100 million. To put that in perspective, that was more money than the U.S. government held in its treasury at the time. He was, adjusted for the size of the economy, richer than Jeff Bezos is today. And here's where it gets interesting. Because Cornelius knew something his children never learned. He left almost his entire fortune to just one son, William, 95% of it. He gave his other children almost nothing. Why? Because Cornelius believed that splitting the money would destroy it. He wanted the fortune concentrated, protected, in the hands of the one person he thought could grow it. And for one generation, it worked. William doubled the fortune. In under 9 years, he took $100 million and turned it into $200 million. The Vanderbilts weren't just rich anymore. They were the wealthiest family on earth. So what happened? How do you go from the richest family on the planet to 0 millionaires in 3 generations? Let me show you. Because the answer is not what you think. It wasn't a stock market crash. It wasn't a war. It wasn't bad luck. It was the mansions. Here's what the next generation of Vanderbilts decided to do with the greatest fortune in the world. They decided to spend it. William's children looked around at European royalty and thought, we should live like that. So they started building. They built the Breakers in Newport, a 70-room summer cottage. Not a home, a summer cottage. They built a mansion on Fifth Avenue in New York so large it required a staff of 30 just to run it. One Vanderbilt built Biltmore, which to this day remains the largest private house ever built in the United States. 250 rooms. And these houses didn't just cost money to build. They bled money every single day they stood. Staff, heating, maintenance, repairs. A single one of these estates could cost the equivalent of millions of dollars a year just to keep the lights on. And then there were the parties. One Vanderbilt threw a single costume ball that, in today's money, cost several $1 million. For one night, guests arrived in jewels flown in from Paris. The family competed with each other to see who could spend more, who could build bigger, who could throw the more spectacular event. It stopped being about wealth and became about status. And status, unlike a railroad, pays you nothing back. It only takes. Every dollar spent on looking rich was a dollar that stopped working. And nobody in the family seemed to notice, because when you're surrounded by that much money, it feels infinite, right up until the moment it isn't. The Vanderbilts had made a fatal switch. Cornelius built assets, things that made money. Ships, railroads, businesses. His grandchildren built liabilities, things that only ate money. Mansions, parties, yachts. And this is the exact trap that destroys fortunes today. Most people, when they finally get money, don't buy things that pay them. They buy things that cost them. A bigger house, a nicer car, a lifestyle that looks rich but quietly drains every dollar you have. The Vanderbilts just did it on a scale we can barely imagine. But it gets worse, because there was a second mistake, and this one is even more common. Nobody worked. Cornelius clawed his way up from nothing. He understood the value of $1 because he earned every one of them. But his great-grandchildren were born into more money than most countries. They never had to build anything. They never had to earn anything, and so an entire generation grew up believing the money would simply always be there. There's a name for this in the family. One Vanderbilt heir openly admitted that inherited wealth was, in his words, a real handicap to happiness. He said it took away the incentive to do anything meaningful. Think about that. The money didn't just disappear. It removed the very drive that created it in the first place. So you had a family that was spending fortunes on mansions, earning nothing new, and dividing what was left among more and more children with each generation. 100 million, split, then split again, poured into houses that cost millions to maintain, while nobody added a single dollar back. Do the math on that, and the ending writes itself. By 1947, a Vanderbilt named Cornelius III, named after the founder himself, died with almost nothing. The great mansions were sold off one by one, often for a fraction of what they cost to build. The Fifth Avenue palaces were torn down. And when the family gathered for a reunion in 1973, not one of the 120 living Vanderbilts was a millionaire. The greatest fortune in American history was gone in just a few generations. Now here's the part almost everyone misses, and it's the most important lesson of all. The Vanderbilts didn't fail because they were stupid. They failed because of how money behaves across time when nobody protects it. Wealth doesn't have loyalty. It doesn't care about your last name. If it isn't invested, if it isn't growing, if it's only being spent, it will always, eventually, run out. It doesn't matter if you start with $100 or 100 million. And this is why one specific family did the exact opposite and is still rich today. The Rockefellers, who built their fortune around the same era, made one different decision. Instead of letting each generation spend freely, they locked the money into trusts and taught every single heir, from childhood, how to manage it, invest it, and grow it. They treated the fortune like a business that had to be protected. The Vanderbilts treated it like a prize to be enjoyed. The Rockefellers didn't spend the fortune, they put it to work. Every heir was taught to track their money, to give a portion away, to invest the rest, and to never touch the principal. The wealth was structured so that no single person could ever spend it all, no matter how reckless they were. The Vanderbilts protected nothing and trusted everything to good intentions. The Rockefellers protected everything and trusted nothing to chance. Same starting point. Opposite ending. One family is a cautionary tale. The other still funds foundations over a century later. So what does this mean for you? Someone who is almost certainly not sitting on a railroad empire. It means the size of your money was never the thing that mattered. It's the direction. The Vanderbilts prove that even an unimaginable fortune runs out if it only flows one way, outward. And the quiet truth is that most people are running a small version of the exact same script right now. Earning money, then immediately spending it on things that cost them more, buying the lifestyle instead of the assets, and wondering why the finish line never gets closer. The lesson buried in the ruins of those mansions is simple. Don't buy things that make you look rich. Buy things that make you rich. Every dollar you own is either working for you or being spent against you. There is no middle. Cornelius Vanderbilt understood that with 100 borrowed dollars and no education. His heirs forgot it with the greatest fortune the world had ever seen. And that single difference between money that works and money that's spent is the entire reason one of these families is remembered as a warning, and another is still standing. The question isn't whether you'll ever have a Vanderbilt fortune. The question is which Vanderbilt you're choosing to be right now, with the money you already have. If this changed how you think about your own money, subscribe. Because next, I'm breaking down the family that did it right and the exact system the Rockefellers used to stay rich for over 100 years.